everybody? It's your boy Icon back again, back from a little hiatus. You know, like a lot of our shows ended, so we were just kind of like waiting in the wings for something new to review. I do have some shows coming up that I'm going to review, some stuff on Netflix I'm going to review, some anime as well. So keep your eyes out for that as they pop up. Hit the notification bell, like it or subscribe. But this one came in because normally I don't do this. Like when it comes to the wrestling, I usually just talk about like the pay-per-views, the PLE events. I usually don't talk about like the regular everyday wrestling stuff. But this news I had to speak on because this was like this was crazy. I mean, we do know every like after WrestleMania there are budget cuts. Like they do cuts where, you know, like they clean house and they get rid of certain people and certain superstars. And me doing the video, it's not because they cut people. It's the people that they cut to the point where I feel like I had to speak on it and I feel like I had to give my thoughts and opinions. And let's just go down the list so I can give you my thoughts and opinions on everything. So right out the gate, and I'm just going to say this, like you never want anybody to lose their job. So, you know, my heart goes out to everybody who, you know, who did, you know, get released from WWE because you never want to hear about people losing their job. Even some people in the writer's room, you know, got fired from WWE very recently. But from a wrestling standpoint, sometimes that's not always a bad thing because even when it comes to like certain competitions, like when you see like these Tough Enough competitions or like these event competitions, usually the person like American Idol or blah, 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 usually the person who didn't win ends up becoming a bigger star than the person who actually won. So, you know, like getting released, and then a lot of times like in wrestling, like when people get released, they go somewhere else and they become a bigger star than they would in WWE because they finally get a chance to actually do something. A lot of times when people get released, it's not because they suck. It's not because the WWE didn't have faith in them. Sometimes it's really just a matter of we're focusing on other people right now. We don't have time for you. We don't have a spot for you right now. And it's wrong for us to just have you sitting around doing nothing. So at least if we release you, you can go somewhere and actually keep wrestling. And then hopefully down the line, when we do make room for you after we fire some other people, like we can bring you back and then we can insert you into the fold. So, but then honestly, there are some people that they just don't feel like they're good enough and they're not contributing to the product, which is sad. But, you know, but Zack Ryder, Matt Cardona, he basically gave the perfect response on social media. He said to all the people that got released, you can either fade into obscurity, you can live off of your WWE name and do guest appearances at like tables, book signings and things like that, or you can hit the independent scene, you can bust your ass, you can make a name for yourself, you can reinvent yourself and come back bigger and stronger than ever. And I feel like a lot of the people on this list can and will do that. So right out the gate, I'm gonna the ones that hurt me the most, we're gonna save those for last. But right at the beginning, Danny Palmer got released. I'm gonna be honest. When she first came in, I feel like she was basically like a spoof off of Dana. What is it? Danica Patrick, the NASCAR female race car driver. I feel like she was trying to be her. And the girl ended up getting a bunch of injuries. She missed time for a while. She ended up coming back. And honestly, I just never liked her presentation. There was nothing about her presentation was always bland. So I understand why they released her because she wasn't really doing anything. They put her in Evolve, and for some people, Evolve is a perfect opportunity, and for other people, it's a death sentence. We'll get to that later. She was in Evolve, and I thought her being in Evolve was a chance for her to reinvent herself, but she had a match against Callie Armstrong, and she got beat, and I guess they just didn't see anything, you know, in her because, you know, me personally, I never liked the presentation. Like, I never liked her presentation. She's someone who needs to reinvent herself, and she needs to come back as a different person if she still wants to, you know, continue in professional wrestling. And that's another thing. We're also going to learn who really loves wrestling and who was just in it for like fame and fortune. You know, another name that got released was Big Body Javi and Javier Bernard, and he's another one where he was like the king of Level Up. You know, like he did nothing but level up. I think he popped up on Evolve, but he was just somebody that they just weren't doing anything with. Like his character didn't bring any value to the show. So hopefully he will go and reinvent himself. He'll come up with a new persona. And then, you know, he'll come back. He needs to come back as a different character. Like, change your name, like, change your look, and just come back as, like, a whole new person. Like I said, outside from that, like, his presentation, it wasn't exactly, like, you know, kicking down the doors of, you know, of, like, you know, like, crowds weren't, like, you know, clamoring for Big Body Javi. So, like I said, like, him getting released honestly doesn't surprise me. Now, them Gallus boys, I kind of saw that coming because when they left NXT UK and came over to the States, they didn't do jack shit with Gallus. Like, they didn't do jack. And I figured Gallus would just be one of those groups. I thought Gallus would have had a nice feud with the D'Angelo family. I don't know why they didn't touch more on that, but Gallus, I thought they were just going to call him up to the main roster because there is a situation where people don't do well on don't do well on NXT, but for some reason they thrive on the main roster, and I just saw them as being one of those teams that would go to the main roster and end up becoming, like something big, but that didn't happen. They ended up putting them in Evolve. And this was one of those situations where going to Evolve actually is a death sentence. The same thing with Oro Mensah, my Oro Mensah, my main man Mensah. When first of all, they broke up Metaphor on live TV. Noam Dar came back from injury. He won the Heritage Cup, and then the four of them had to sit down and agree that they were going to break up. Jakara Jackson had this weird look on her face, and now we know why. They moved my man Oro to Evolve, and then when they moved him to Evolve, and then Gallus showed up on Evolve. To me, as soon as I saw Gallus and Oro on Evolve, I said, damn, the company gave up on them. Because again, there are some people like Wendy Chu where it feels like you're going to Evolve to bring value to the product. And there are other people where it's like they just dumped you there because they had nothing else to do for you. And this is basically a death sentence for you. And that's how it felt. Like, that's honestly how it felt when Oro and the Gallus boys went there. I was, and I liked Oro Mensah. Like, he was a tag team champion in NXT UK. He came over, and thanks to the Metaphor, he actually did do some stuff. I saw him as a good talent, but I feel like he'll be a good person. Maybe he'll go to TNA. He'll either be a good personality on the independent scene or on TNA. The Gallus boys will be perfect for TNA. They should not go to AEW. Do not go to AEW. The Gallus boys would be perfect for TNA. And I feel like the Gallus boys, those are the type of characters that are needed, that are needed on that TNA brand. Because TNA is getting a lot of exposure now, so we need to beef this roster up. And I can see him fighting Joe Hendry. I could definitely see that. So I hope, like I said, I hope to see the four of them, pop up on TNA of all places. But if not, maybe they'll continue to make noise in the independent scene. Maybe Gallus will go back to the UK. We'll see. But I mean, Riley Osborne, you can't really say too much about that. Like, he just started. So, I mean, I feel like he had a generic look where he resembled like 50 million people on the roster. So for them, it was just like, I don't know. Like I said, he's in the beginning. Like, he's fresh. He's in the beginning. So like I said, we'll see where that goes with him and if he can reinvent it. Because I guarantee you, if he does reinvent himself and becomes a star on the independents, when he comes back, I'm going to be like, who the hell is this guy? I'm not even going to remember it was him. So he does have a chance to actually like resurrect his career. But, we'll see. We'll see where it goes, see what path he chooses. Eddie Thorpe was a surprise, but not really. Because when he said what he said on on that one episode of NXT, I mean, Wes's face said it all, and that may have sunk his own coffin. But I was happy with Eddie Thorpe getting a push, but I didn't like his character as a heel. I liked his character as a babyface, but it just wasn't interesting enough. And because the thing is, if you're going to be a heel, let's not do the whole "the white man is taking me down" type of thing like that. I don't know. I feel like they kind of did him dirty on that, but they did give him an opportunity. Like, he was all over the main event scene between Trick Williams and between Obafemi and everything. Like, he wrestled for the title. He had triple threat matches. So they did do something with him, and I guess after they evaluated what they saw from him, I guess they felt like, either he can do better or he could do better somewhere else, or his performance wasn't what they thought. But he does have a good look. And he can wrestle. So I do expect to see him on the independent scene very shortly. I mean, Braun Strowman, him getting released, they fired him, they brought him back. I feel like they brought him back specifically just to wrestle Jacob Fatu. And then after the Jacob Fatu program ended, they were just like, kind of don't know what else to do now. So they just let him go. And it's hard for big men. I mean, the same thing, the same thing with Omos. The problem with big men is if you have them all the time, it's not special, because since they're the big men, they need to plow the road. They need to run people down. Like, you can't have big men on your roster and not have them destroy people. But the problem is, once a big man loses to a little guy, it kind of takes the steam out of his presentation. So, I mean, I guess, like I said, with him, he already lost, he already got his ass whooped, by Jacob Fatu. So it's like, who else is he going to fight now? Because if Jacob Fatu whooped your ass, it's like, now I can't really believe you're going to beat anybody else. So they guess that was enough for them to be like, let's cut bait with him. So they moved on from him. And I feel like for Braun Strowman, he should be on the independents, because he can go to TNA, but if he goes to TNA, all he can really wrestle is Moose. Like it's just him versus Moose. That's it. If he goes to AEW, he can maybe wrestle Powerhouse Hobbs. He can wrestle Bobby Lashley. But again, that's the problem with big men. Once you wrestle Bobby Lashley, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Moose, who else on the roster are you going to fight? So Braun Strowman should just do independence at this point until WWE brings him back for another short stint to fight somebody else. And then, but I said he got dropped before. So, to him, it's nothing. He'll be back. Like he's been back before. He'll be back again. I have no doubt about that. Shayna Baszler was obvious the moment she came out to wrestle in regular clothes. When her and Zoe Stark cut that promo, and then when Shayna wrestled in that tag team gauntlet match wearing regular clothes, she wasn't even in her wrestling gear. She was wearing regular clothes. As soon as that happened, I said, yeah, she don't care no more. I was like, this girl don't care no more. I was like, Shayna Baszler's basically given up. She's like, fuck this company. Like, that was obvious to everybody. And then they dropped her. I think she actually would be good for AEW, if I'm being honest, because they need someone like her who can bring some legitimacy to that women's division. She'd be a monster in TNA. Her versus, Sasha Pekovic. Her versus that would be a good fight. I think that would definitely be a good fight. But Shayna always talks about how like she loves professional wrestling. Like she's like it's her love or whatever. So. Time to prove it, time to prove it. And when that non-compete is up, I hope to see her, I hope to see her in TNA, going for that TNA Knockouts Championship. Now we're getting into head scratcher territory. Gigi Dolan, good old Gigi. So Toxic Attraction broke up. They left a group, and then both Gigi and JC, they left a group to go into another group. The same thing with Fallon, with Josh and Briggs or whatever. They were in a group. All three of them, they broke up because they were just like, oh, the group thing isn't working. And then all three of them literally left each other and got put in other groups. And I never understood the point of that, because that's basically saying like when you split someone up from a group and then put all three of them into another group, that either says the three of you together was trash or we don't value you as individual talents. Like you three can only be good if you're with other people. And the thing with Gigi Dolan, she was the one that was kind of like whispering in the wind, like for a while without something to do. But then she bumped into Tatum Paxi and she bumped into Shotzi, and the three of them formed something. And I thought, what was it, like Chemical Eggs? I thought that was a good group because it's gonna sound bad, but let's call a spade a spade. They basically formed a group of weirdos and freaks, and I was just like, this is perfect. Like Tatum Paxley's another one where I hated her character when she first came out, and then she transformed her character into something that was really entertaining. So to see her team up with Shotzi and Gigi, I was like, this is perfect. This is a 3-girl group that that could work. I mean, Gigi and Tatum, they wrestled for the women's tag titles like last week. Like, I don't get that one. I never agreed with her being in Toxic Attraction. The girl is fine. Like, the girl is fine. Like, she's smoking hot. Like, she got a body, she got them assets. You know what I'm saying? So it's not about looks, but her character, she never came across as like the sexy, dainty, oh, look at me, like I'm so hot type of girl. She never fit into Toxic Attraction to me because that just never seemed like it was her personality. She seemed more like grittier, more like, cutthroat. Like she seemed like she'd be like her and Michin would be good together teaming up. But you know what I'm saying? But when she got with Chemical X, I was like, this shit is perfect. And then they also fired Shotzi. So you fired Shotzi and Gigi and you kept Tatum. The three of them would have been perfect together if they would have stayed together. I get why they fired Shotzi, because her stint in the company from start to finish has not been the greatest. It definitely had, like, I always felt that the girl was too skinny, and I always felt that she needed to bulk up so she can look the part more, but I also felt that the green hair just wasn't working for me. Like, I felt she needed like a wardrobe change or a costume change, but when she teamed up with Tatum and Gigi, I said, okay, now the green is perfect and it makes sense. I mean, I thought that her weight still needed to improve, but then it was perfect her being with that group because then you don't notice her size as much. It just seemed like Chemical X was something that would have worked. Like, honestly, if I'm Tatum Paxi, I'm like, yo, just release me. And if I'm the three of them, I just team up together and I go to another company as a group. Like, that's what I would have did. And I mean, up until this moment, Tatum Paxley has not been released. So right now it's just, it's just Shotzi and Gigi. Maybe Shotzi and Gigi stay together, like who knows, But like I said, that's definitely a head scratcher, and I really truly don't understand that. I don't understand that one. Dakota Kai, Dakota Kai. Why? I mean, I don't know. Is it the knee injuries? it can't be the knee injuries because the girl just wrestled in the final. Well, see, she did wrestle in the finals for the Women's Intercontinental Championship, and then she got hurt again, but she came back fairly quickly. I don't know. I feel like it's like now that Dakota Kai is gone, who's going to translate for Damage Control? So now that Dakota Kai is gone, honestly, to me, it personally just felt like a situation of like her body holding up. I feel like they just looked at it and said, you know, we can't depend on you physically. Like we can't depend on your physical health. We can't depend on your body. And I feel like that's probably why like they gave up on her in the end. It's one of those things where we need you to go to another company, and if you can prove you can stay healthy in another, because let's be 100% honest, they're going to bring Dakota Kai back. Like she's one of those people that's gonna get brought back, but maybe they want to see how her body handles on the independent scene, on like or in another company before they try to call her back. But that was definitely a head scratcher because the girl wasn't doing nothing, and Lyra wasn't doing anything. It's like now you got Becky Lynch and you got Bayley fighting for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. When someone like Dakota Kai, like an Ivy Nile, like that would have benefited them more. So it just seemed like you kind of shitted on elevating somebody just for the sake of keeping a quote unquote bigger star like happy with something to do. But like I said, Dakota Kai is going to be all over the place. She's like Dakota Kai, and shout out to Indy Hartwell who signed with TNA. I'm actually happy that because Indy Hartwell out here looking like Wonder Woman. like her transformation has completely changed from WWE since she left. That girl is gorgeous. She got the long hair, the long black hair. This is what her ring attire looks a lot better. This girl she out here looking like Wonder Woman. So like kudos to her. Dakota Kai, if I'm Dakota Kai, for the love of God, do not go to AEW. Stay your behind. Like go to TNA. go to TNA and like do work in TNA. So I expect big things I expect bigger things from Dakota Kai. Cora Jade, that shocked me. Not only is she friends with CM Punk, not only is she friends with Roxanne Perez, Cora Jade is extremely high with her peers, and she seemed like someone who currently should have been brought onto the main roster and someone who would have brought value to the main roster. So maybe it's her youth, like it's her age. Maybe it's because she had the injuries and they just like with Dakota, they want to see if her body can hold up before they bring her back. I mean, because of the girl's age, she can leave, go somewhere else and come back and come back. It's not like the clock's ticking on her career. The girl had value. Like she had a good look. Like, she was gorgeous. You know what I'm saying? She could have been like Rhea Ripley's like kid sister or something. She definitely had the look and everything, but I don't know what. Maybe she had an attitude problem backstage, like who knows, but that one is a head scratcher, but it does come across as like, well, kid, get out there, make a name for yourself, and then we'll bring you back. But I'd be lying if I said like that was the second that was the second release that shocked me more. And now let's talk about number one, because for the love of God, y'all done fired Miss Jackson. That pissed me off. Like other releases, it hurt, it kind of stung, it surprised me, it shocked me. When you said you fired Jakara Jackson, I almost flipped the table over. That girl looks like money. Like her and Lash together. I always thought the two of them should have added a third girl. They were money. Like the Meta Girls were everywhere. They were in Saudi Arabia. They were on Raw, SmackDown, NXT, TNA. They were everywhere. I don't... Like, yeah, okay, fine. She's dating Trick Williams. Lash Legend looks like a powerhouse. She's a beast. Lash Legend is somebody that can go to the main roster and compete for any of the top women's championships. But for you to sit there and say that Jakara couldn't have been a women's heavyweight champion or a women's U.S. Intercontinental North American champion, that is bullshit. I need explanations. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not like Jakara was sitting and catering, doing nothing, and they're just like, well, we're not using you, so get out there. The girl was on TV every other week. She was on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. The girl, that one doesn't make sense to me. I mean, the Cora Jade doesn't make sense to me either, but Cora Jade, up until Stand and Deliver, wasn't actually doing anything. Jakara Jackson was on TV every week. She was about that action. And then and there's a small internet group of people. They're like, oh, they're firing all the LGBTQ plus people. I'm like, no, that's not true, because majority of the people I just mentioned aren't gay. Like they're not gay, they're not lesbian. Like a lot of them are heterosexual. So And you can't jump on the bandwagon and be like, oh yeah, getting rid of the black people because Jakara Jackson's the only, well, besides Kaden Carter and Katana Chance, like single wrestler, you know, like Jakara was the only black girl that they fired. They kept a lot of the black girls. I don't understand that. Even Katana, even Kaden Carter and Katana Chance, I don't get that either. You fired the party girls, which, like, the fact that you fired Kaden Carter and Katana Chance, especially when she's dating Damian Priest and you kept Damian Priest, the fact that y'all fired you fired the party girls says to me that WWE is 2 seconds away from killing the women's tag team division, because they were the only legitimate tag team on that roster. You done broke up the unholy union. It seems like, and that's the thing. You broke up the Meta Girls. You broke up, you know, like Chemical Eggs. Clearly, you don't, like, this is them waving a humongous flag saying we don't care about women's tag team wrestling. And I don't, and that's not right, because they didn't invest enough time into women's tag team wrestling. They're not going to get rid of the belts, though. The belts are going to stick around because guess what? You're bringing back the Bella Twins. And I'm pretty sure the Bella Twins only agree to come back to WWE if they win the women's tag team titles. So look out for that to come. But the fact that you got rid of all the actual tag teams, like, that shit is a head scratcher. Like, that shit. And I like the party girls. What was the point of calling them up there? Like, you should have just kept them in NXT, because NXT isn't developmental anymore. Like, let's get that out of our mind. NXT is no longer a developmental brand, because now the developmental brand is Evolve and low-key TNA. So all the development talent now is Evolve is the new NXT. NXT is a third brand. Let's stop with the call up, with the call down, everything. Party girls could have just went back to NXT, because NXT is a brand now. And I feel bad for them. I like the party girls. Like, I love Jakara Jackson. I love Jakara Jackson. I loved Cora Jade. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was a huge fan of Dakota Kai. But all the women that I just mentioned, please go to TNA. Because TNA talks about how they got the best women's division. NXT always talks about how they got the best women's division. If anything, if all the women on this released list goes to TNA and they tear the house down, because of the working relationship, WWE will beg them to come back, and they can still stick with the company. I pray to God Jakara Jackson goes to TNA. Cora Jade needs to go to TNA. You know, let's say the party girls, they like tag team wrestling, women's tag team wrestling in TNA. So it's crazy. And then what really pisses me off, you sat there, you fired the party girls, you fired Jakara Jackson, you got rid of Cora Jade, you got rid of Dakota Kai, and yet every single stereotypical bleach blonde girl with fake tits, where all of them look exactly the same, you kept all the blonde girls. You got rid of all the women with different looks. You got rid of all the women who stand out, who have different shades, different styles, different personalities. And you kept all the Barbie girls who look exactly alike. So clearly you're making a statement where it's like, oh, we just want the generic fake Barbie blonde look, and we don't care about women who have actual standout talent. That's why I'm really pissed off at the end with all these releases, because that was bullshit. And if you look at that release list, not one of the people on that release list is a blonde woman. You know, like, is a blonde woman. So that just lets you know what WWE was thinking there as far as that's concerned. But, you know, it is what it is. Thank you for tuning in to this video. And share your questions, comments, and concerns down below. Which releases pissed you off the most? Which ones were you okay with? Which ones did you not like? And for the people that you do like, where do you want them to go? Where do you want to see them end up? And which ones do you think will be brought back? I believe Cora Jade, Jakara Jackson, and Dakota Kai, they're definitely going to be brought back at some point, along with Braun Strowman as well. But share your questions, comments, and concerns down below, and let's talk about it, y'all. Check me out all over social media, on X, on TikTok, on Instagram, and YouTube, where you can leave your questions, comments, and concerns. And check out my other reviews up on my YouTube channel, because right now we're about to start reviewing some stuff on Netflix, some shows on Netflix, and I'm going to be posting that either today or tomorrow, so get ready for that when it comes out as well. So thanks for tuning in, guys, as always. Until next time for some more wrestling action, take care, and we're out this. Peace!